Good afternoon. I'm glad that you guys were able to hang in here for the last panel of today. We really appreciate it. I want to thank our SWAN staff for allowing us to moderate and be able to host this fabulous group of speakers. What better topic to have consistent with the workshop theme doing more with less than talking about workforce. I think of all the panel discussions we've had today, our rapid fire, and all the calls that we've all been taking, I think the biggest thing that still comes to mind when we think about any type of process is people, process, and technology always starts with what? Our people, right? So anything that we talked about today, that's one of the things that's in common. What we're going to do today is have a little hybrid approach. We will have some discussions from each of our speakers, and then we'll take some questions. So we'll do those at the end. I'll have some that we'll start with, and then we'll promise we'll leave time for you guys because we want this to be interactive, and we want you to don't want you to go to sleep. One thing I'll just share about our utility in terms of I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, so most of you know that is a bourbon town, right? I don't know if you just recently heard in the news, and Brown-Forman is one of the largest distilleries or owners in the world, and they're getting ready to lay off 12% of their workforce. So, and it's a family-owned business, so when we think about all the things that we're doing, regardless of space, workforce is our most valuable asset. So with further ado, I just want to introduce, and this will be the order of our speakers, would be Christine Al, who give us a perspective from research, Paula, who is our Chief Information Officer from Los Angeles, who will give a very unique perspective from an IT perspective. Jennifer Morales, of course, will be next, who will be talking about some unique things that they've done in terms of workforce. And last but not least, Mr. Brandon Foster, who works for Streammetrics, who will be talking about the software they provide and some interesting perspectives. So just, if you will, welcome all of our panelists. That'll hopefully wake everybody up. And we'll go ahead and we'll start with Christine. Thank you so very much.
Oh. Let's give this a try. Well, very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine. I'm a digital water analyst at Bluefield Research. And for those of you who might not be familiar with us, we are a market research firm focused on the global water industry. So we provide market intelligence, custom consulting support across a variety of verticals, including municipal, industrial, and in my case, smart/digital water. So in my presentation today, I will be discussing how technologies such as artificial intelligence, AI, can help a utility tackle the various workforce challenges that they are facing today. Before I go on, I do want to give a special shout out to Arcadis, whom we collaborated with for these insights. So thank you very much, Arcadis, and let's get into it. So, kicking things off, there is a workforce gap in water utilities, and this is happening all over the world. This exhibit here, you see the job vacancy rate in water utilities in the US, UK, Australia, and the European Union. As you can see, it is high and it is growing. Among these geographies, the US stands out as having a particularly high vacancy rate. In fact, we are the line right on top, and that number has essentially doubled between 2015 to 2023. And what that means is that water utilities are chronically understaffed, and this is a trend that is likely going to persist into the future. There are a lot of reasons why there is this gap, but one of them definitely is our aging utility workforce, as well as the industry's struggle to attract as well as to retain talent. New talent specifically. So according to a Brookings Institute report back in 2016, over 50% of the US water industry workforce was actually between their 30s and 40s, and over a quarter were actually in their mid-50s to 60s. In contrast, less than 13% of these workers at the time were actually under the age of 25. Now, it's been a couple of years since these numbers have been pulled and analyzed, but I would hazard to guess that even today, these splits probably look very familiar to a lot of us. So what this means, or plainly speaking, the industry is not hiring at a rate that will sufficiently replace the highly skilled individuals who already have or will soon retire from the industry. And what that leads to is not only an overstrained workforce, but also a growing skills gap. And this is due to potentially lapses in institutional knowledge transfer from individuals who are leaving the organization. What can we do about this? Now, AI offers some solutions, it's definitely not perfect, and we've talked about AI all throughout today. But one thing I want to offer is that AI, as this very powerful data processing tool, actually can and is being used in other industries essentially as a human resource tool. So from the recruitment side, AI can help with optimizing this candidate search, helping automate the initial candidate screening, as well as even procedural matters such as setting up interviews. It can also help utilities identify specific demographics of interest so that they can be more targeted in their recruitment efforts. Once on board, obviously everyone gets training, but constant upskilling is essential not only to make up for high-skilled individuals who are leaving the organization, but also just to keep up with evolving technology trends. In this case, AI can be used in training, but also help with developing training programs so that the workforce can be constantly and consistently upskilled. When someone's ready to retire, there needs to be a way to better capture that institutional knowledge. That's something that we've been talking about all day, the fact that when people leave, a lot of times their skills and their knowledge leaves with them. So once again, while not perfect, large language models do offer a solution to that because they are designed to kind of analyze and process complicated sporadic data. They can be used to really organize work notes so as to help with the knowledge transfer from those who are leaving to those who are staying and really facilitate that succession process. Due to the meteoric rise in AI, vendors out there are offering all kinds of different AI-powered solutions. And to be very fair, implementation of AI for the most part is definitely still in its early stages, but we're already seeing real benefits just based on company case studies. So AI is being applied to meter and sensor data to help spot anomalies, which is helping with more accurately capturing meter revenue as well as tackling leakage. Predictive maintenance and management technologies that leverage AI can help conduct lifecycle analyses on different equipment, as well as predict potential maintenance schedules, and this can really help a utility make smarter financial decisions, whether it's in their CapEx or OpEx investments. And on the pump side, these analytics softwares that are equipped with AI capabilities is helping utilities make better decisions about how they use their pumps so that they can do it in a way that is optimal for energy consumption, and this helps reduce their carbon footprint as well as eventual energy costs. Now, there are a myriad of other AI applications out there, so just to kind of flag a couple of interesting ones, AI chatbots, for example, can be used on the customer service front to tackle some more basic customer questions so that a customer service agent can tackle more kind of complex inquiries from your service population. AI can also be used for financial reporting, automating these repetitive tasks so that back-end staff will have more bandwidth and time to do more creative problem solving when it comes to optimizing a utility's financial resources. And when tackling complex capital projects, there are tools out there to help with optimizing scheduling, to help with resource allocation, and even budgeting. Now, I can go on and on and on and on and on and on, and I think it's clear that I am an AI optimist. I think that there's a lot of potential behind this technology to empower utilities. But to wrap up my presentation or my section of this panel, I want to leave everyone with this thought. So as old and new challenges continue to emerge for water utilities, they are having to tackle this with an increasingly strained workforce. And technologies and AI offer a remedy to that. It's not always a solution, it's not necessarily a solution, it's a remedy, because these tools are designed to support the current workforce, not to replace them. So it's important to remember that these technologies are out there to work in concert and to support operators in their day-to-day lives so that they can do more with less, which is the theme of our conference today. So yeah, thank you all so much for your time. I look forward to our discussion, and I would like to hand things off to our next speaker, Paula from the LA County Sanitation District. Thank you.
Okay, hi. I am here to talk about in-house IT and the rise of the citizen developer. Through sitting here, I think I might be one of the few people in the room in IT. Is there anybody else here in IT? One person, one brave soul. Okay, so the world has changed. And I hate to be, sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
We can keep it there. It's okay.
Okay, thanks. I hate to be a downer, but my slide starts off with why we need citizen developers, and it's the same thing. We don't have enough staff. So this year alone, 500,000 shortage in developers. That's professional developers. So PMI, which I am a member of, has coined the term the citizen developer. And what a citizen developer is they are an IT prone individual, so they didn't go to traditional IT schools, they're not a programmer, but they've got some tech skills. And they're going to leverage low-code, no-code apps, possibly also SaaS solutions, to help solve problems unique to their department's needs. So at LA County SAN, our engineering department has a lot of needs, and IT has not been able traditionally to keep up with those needs. The bigger point, though, is IT may not be the best person to be able to address all of the needs of every department. IT can get a broad scope of the problems for the whole department, but we're not subject matter experts. Most of us are not engineers, so we don't understand. You can tell me, and I can try to understand. I'll do my best, right? But we don't understand what you actually need. And that's where the citizen developer comes in. So our engineering department has leveraged citizen developers. And it's supported. One thing I want to be really clear about is there is a line between the citizen developer and shadow IT. I'm sure all of you have had your IT people get all mad at you about things that you're doing in your department that you thought were perfectly fine, and they're calling it shadow IT and giving you kind of a guilt trip. But I want to talk about the citizen developer is the partnership with IT. So, oh goodness, I'm so not good at this. Okay, so you see on this slide, there's 3 risks and a large column of benefits. This is how we start to sell this to our IT leadership as well, because we have to have both parts working together. So the risk of the citizen developer is shadow IT, siloed data, and cybersecurity. That's been a theme kind of through this thing. We don't want the data siloed because if we want to stick AI on top of it, we want AI to be able to look at all of the data throughout the organization, not just this one thing we've built. Shadow IT leaves that knowledge with that person. So you've got a really smart person, a go-getter, they're out building stuff, maybe they built you an access database that solves some business problems. You're laughing at me, you got one, right? Maybe they built you something in a SaaS cloud solution that's working great for you, but what happens when they leave? Who's left? Do you now have to change your job class spec to now have some tech skills as required to replace them? I don't know. But possibly, if no one else has any idea of what they built. And then the last thing is cybersecurity. In IBM's threat report for last year, the #1 reason for a cloud data breach was improperly configured security settings. Because again, if you're not an IT person, maybe you assume that it comes out of the box secure. Why wouldn't you think that, right? Why would they sell me something that I have to go digging around for a hidden checkbox to know I have to turn that on? But then now let's switch to the benefits. Accelerated innovation, cost savings, bespoke solutions, increased morale, and I'll talk about the team morale in a second because that's really important. Stability, and I'm sorry guys, I can't see from this side. Give me 1 second. But I think it's decreased reliance on IT and transparency. Thank you. Those are all benefits that we want. Both as a CIO, I want those for my agency, and you want those for your department. This can really be a win-win situation when we work together. At LA County SAN, we worked with AECOM, who's been amazing in helping get kind of some foundation things put together so that one group is not outpacing the rest of the group. So like I mentioned, our engineering department has someone like this on their team, and they've been out building amazing solutions that the engineering team can't live without now. And so with partnering with AECOM, they've both helped create a digital maturity landscape for this engineering department, as well as help put some communication tools between IT and the engineering department to make sure that IT is documenting these things so that when this employee leaves, we can just pick back up. We can help train the next person. We can help provide insights if we need to. And maybe engineering doesn't have to look for this same unique unicorn in that next new hire. Okay, so how do we do this? One, you create the proper organizational structure, and that starts from the top. So you have your leadership tell both IT and the departments, this is the foundation, right? Everybody has to come together on this. The next thing is to embrace the 3 Gs, guidance, governance, and guardrails. Governance is extremely important. When the individual citizen developer is developing things, we need to make sure that it's aligning with governance that IT knows about for information security, for information standards, to make sure that we have good data going everywhere. The next thing is guidance. What happens when the citizen developer is asked to do something that they can do, but they shouldn't do? Who helps tell them that? That's where IT can help. And then guardrails, that's putting controls in place so that the citizen developer knows when to pass something over to IT that might have overlap. And then the last one is maintain close involvement with IT. For us, this is regular meetings with the engineering staff. And then create cross-domain work groups. This includes putting people in finance with engineering, in budgeting with engineering, and IT, so that engineering is doing things that everyone knows about and that everyone has access to. And these other departments can help provide feedback to the things that engineering is doing. So with that, I will turn it over to Jennifer, and I thank you for your time.
Man, this is hard to see. Hello, Jennifer Morales, City of Omaha. I am the Public Works Asset Manager, which means I actually have to care about more than just our wastewater collection system, more than just our water resource recovery treatment facilities, more than our lift stations. I have to also care about our roadway system, our traffic infrastructure, and our facilities and our fleet. But it's really an awesome job that I have a privilege to do with Omaha. I do have a passion for the wastewater collection system and the environment. I did serve 16 years on our combined sewer overflow reduction program, long-term control plan, and also in our collection system asset management. I had the privilege of leading a 15-person technical group that did a lot of field services, engineering, planning, and GIS. So with that, advance the slide. I'm here to share on how we did things with interns, smarter, faster, cheaper, and how these interns actually served as catalysts for us to advance in our smart water programs. All right, so this is really, just wanted to share, there was a starting point back in, probably all the way back in '06, but let's say 17, 18, 19, where we went through a CMOM gap assessment, EPA, CMOM, I'm not sure how many of you all are wastewater people, but capacity, management, operation, and maintenance. So it is a checklist of best practices in your wastewater utility, your organization. And from that, what we learned is we actually don't have enough people. So the graph is actually a projection of where we need to be and grow to. And just pay attention to the top line is a little over 120 staff. The hot pink, I don't know how well it views, is really to represent kind of that work group that I had, our system engineers of collection systems, our field services, and our GIS staff. And you could say any of our smart water innovators, because that really was the work group who was starting to think of how could we do things better with sensors, information. We weren't yet to the AI machine learning pieces, but we are definitely growing toward that now. And so we were short on engineers, we were short on condition assessment, understanding really what our infrastructure could do and not do. One of the initiatives in Omaha is, through our combined sewer overflow program, is to institute some real-time controls where we're actually storing water in our large diameter sewers in our collection system in order to reduce the overflows to the river. However, our large diameter sewers are sometimes 100 years old, sometimes missing brick, inverts, et cetera. So there's this fear that how are we going to store water even in a a bit of a pressurized state with some head pressure if we don't understand the condition of the infrastructure. So we have mitigated some of these shortcomings by expanding our staff to hire interns. And most of us were engineers, civil engineers, thinking of let's hire an engineering intern or a GIS intern, but we've definitely opened our mind now. We have computer science, environmental science, even in our construction management groups, we're hiring construction managers or in the management programs. So we've really tried to open our mind. We've even hired accountants or people who are studying actuary science, and that's been really helpful as well. With the interns, we were able to dream a little bit of what technology do we want to try, and let's go ahead and use this test workforce and not necessarily put it on our full-time operation and maintenance staff or our full-time field technical services group, who was largely maintaining our 60 flow meters. They were doing smoke testing and sewer system evaluation studies. So we hired interns to do what's called SLRAT. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that, but it's an acoustic testing of a wastewater pipeline in search of a blockage or an obstruction. So it sends an acoustic wave, it has a screamer, a listener, a data recorder. We developed our own Esri Field Maps app. I think it was called something different a few years ago, but it's called Field Maps. And so at the same time of collecting pipeline data, we're also collecting manhole condition data. And I probably should move on to a couple more slides here. I could get into the weeds on some of the stuff we were able to do with our interns, but I want to give some credit. So here's some of our shining faces and our growth in being open to having interns. Now, it's not mind-blowing. We're not at hundreds of interns, but we went from a half an intern that was in our GIS. And I would say GIS is a piece of our smart water, right? We were doing smart things in the 90s, and we have grown to 20. And the collection system's openness to using interns actually inspired our upper leadership, our executive directors, to where they were asking other divisions, please consider interns. They're not a burden. Look what you can get out of them if you have the right plan. So that's really where we're at now. We are leveraging very, very bright minds. And at the same time, we're inspiring them. I hope that we're inspiring them that maybe they might want to join the workforce as part of the water industry. And that's just a list of some of the things we've gotten out of them with GIS, asset data collection. We did utilize them for some of our sewer location, stormwater compliance. They also, if they come back a second year, they get a raise and they can serve as crew leaders. And then they also helped review SOPs with like fresh eyes. Now that's been very helpful. And then they do a lot of research for us, probably use ChatGPT a couple times and then just report it back to us. It's been a great success. Let's see. Oops, I lost my cheat sheet here. Again, doing more with less. So these were some of our accomplishments. This summer, I hired a computer science major and actually asked him, hey, this is what I would like to do, can you do this? So he did do some programming and helped us do a QA/QC on our hydraulic model, highlighting where we might need to actually update some of the information that we're using. So garbage in, garbage out, or good data in. Also, we're developing risk models on some of our infrastructure, so the interns were helpful in writing and rewriting some of the logic that we use, including in our traffic signal systems as well as our pipelines. And benefits of having interns is proof of concept, so we are able to try things, almost try it, demonstrate, and then get the buy-in for full-time staff to actually adopt. This also freed up a bandwidth for the full-time staff to go do, I don't want to say more important, but pretty important things, especially within our flow monitoring program. We have about 60 permanent meters, and they have definitely revealed real issues in the system that thwarted major catastrophes, so it's been good to refocus our resources there. But we do have growth still to be made. We're doing a lot of data collection, but it's that data integration and an automation of workflows that we'd really like to grow with. And I was able to see that hiring a computer scientist might be something we want to entertain. All right, so I'll close with, for Omaha, our key success factors have really been having champions of our mission statement and having engaged supervisors. So really getting over the hump that interns can be a burden or take a lot of time, really seeing them as an asset in and of themselves and added value. Again, our mission does include innovation and teamwork, and so we're demonstrating that here. Our leadership, again, supported our intern hiring and even encouraged it more so. And then we noticed our interns were motivated by technical innovation, so we gamified some of their work. They did competitions against each other who could collect most data or who could find that needle in a haystack, who could find that problem, prevent particularly sanitary sewer overflows or basement backups. And then luckily, Omaha does have a pretty solid foundation with our technology and our GIS system. And then just having that opportunity mindset, so always looking for what could we be doing better and how can we utilize our resources better. And then again, an important fact is making sure we measure that progress so that we can share with others. We did make gains, this was a valued investment, and this is how we've grown from it. So with that, I will join the panel and actually hand it off to Brandon, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
See if I can get this to work. Okay, I'm Brandon Foster with Stream Metric. We've heard all these great ladies get up here and speak, and so I'm hoping to be the solution that they've been talking about for the last 15 minutes. Need to go back. So what Stream Metric is we're a company that's started by a company called Mon and Hummel, who is in the filter business, mostly on the auto industry side, but they also get into water and wastewater as well. And they wanted to get into the digital water business, as Christine explained earlier. It's a growing business. So what we do is we're a cloud-based SCADA and monitoring company, but one of our value propositions is, I think Mr. Miller from, I can't, mentioned it earlier, is don't forget about the smaller utilities. So our value proposition is to go after the mid-size and small utilities that don't have a integrator at the city of Omaha or city of Phoenix or anything like that. Give them SCADA and monitoring for a affordable price and let them use that with their employees to make their jobs easier. Like they said earlier with the employees, a lot more employees are retiring than are coming in, so we want to make it easier on those employees to do their job and give them the technology to do that. So just a little background of how our system works. Would come from the equipment, either being a pump station or water tower, control panel, to a cloud-based, and then to the user interface. Our user interface is available on a computer, but also available on mobile devices such as iPads and iPhones or smartphones, so they can control and or monitor their equipment from any mobile device that they have, not just a computer at the water plant or wastewater treatment plant. So how do we use AI? So we using AI flow mostly on the wastewater side, but also on the water side as well. We're taking AI flow. We take the dimensions of a ground storage tank or a wet well and use a level transducer, put that into our algorithm, and that algorithm learns over time. So if you have a pump station that's running 10 times a day, it's going to be a lot more efficient than a pump station running 2 times a day. Just like any other AI, the more data it gets, the more it learns. So we've come up to about 95 to 97% accuracy on the AI flow. There's example on the far, I guess on my right, your left, with a flow meter that we had at a lift station. The flow meter was getting about 80% accuracy from what they could see, and we came in with the blue line and got about 95% accuracy. They recalibrated the flow meters with that example and kept it on that station, but their stations going forward, they used the AI flow instead of the flow meters because it was about a 40% cost reduction. And we've also taken the AI flow and taken it into the equipment side, so we can use a current transducer as well as a level transducer and get the efficiency of a pump or equipment, and let them know that with currents going, or the amps going up and efficiency going down, we can pull that equipment before it actually fails or craps out. So, and then we also use the AI flow with engineering firms. One of the big ones we've dealt with is Garver Engineering on their southern U.S. firm, but water reuse project in Oklahoma. We have a data science team and used AI flow that they were pulling water out of a reservoir, pumping into their water plant, and then retreating the wastewater coming in and putting it back into that reservoir. So we've used AI flow at that distance as well. And then the last one is we've used smart analytics as well as our data science team in using storm mode. So storm mode is using a weather forecasting app in our cloud-based system with AI flow, and the pump stations will turn on and turn off with the storm coming in. A lot of the utilities that have used that are on the Gulf Coast or the East Coast when they've been affected by hurricanes. Gives them more capacity in their lift stations before that storm comes in. And as well as it'll talk to other pump stations, so if one pump station is pumping into another one, they can communicate with each other and pump down before that rain event comes in. And with that, I'll turn it back over to our moderator.
Thank you so very much. Thank you guys for sharing all of your perspectives. I've got a couple questions that I'd like to pose to each of you, and then we'll take some from the audience. We often hear that digital tools, technology, or AI will eventually take away jobs. How do we encourage our workforces to better embrace these technologies and see them as something to increase their skill sets? What challenges do we need to overcome? I'd like to start with Jennifer, and then we'll Emma.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Yeah. Of course, I'm just going to speak from experience. This isn't necessarily going to be an answer for everyone to try, but how to overcome the fear of, if people think AI or technology is going to take their jobs, is engagement, valuing the experiences and institutional knowledge of those, whether they be operators or maintenance workers, et cetera, and demonstrating to them this is actually to supplement and make your job easier, or actually give us more information. And I have a little anecdote, it has to do with our traffic counting, but they were worried, like, if we don't have humans counting traffic, they're gonna lose their jobs. And I said, no, we're just gonna be able to count more streets, and it's the same with the sewer system. We've piloted a few of the AI technology for pipeline condition assessment, and it is not going to take away anyone's job. It's going to supplement our accuracy. We do have human failure. We do have issues. We had a $5 million emergency failure last year I can't say 100% due to, but partly due to the fact that the pipeline assessment was not great. So we overlooked a very, very serious issue, and it ended up failing right in a major thoroughfare. So I would say engagement with the community that isn't tech savvy, and education, seeing that we can't do this without you. We can't do this without your information, and we can't do this without you testing some things, and just keep them involved all along the process.
Thank you very much. Brandon, you want to go next?
Okay. I guess, add to that is it's more of, in my opinion, the education to the employees. teach, and that's partly our position, is to teach the employees how to use it, teach it how it will help them, whether it be on a daily basis, instead of going to every lift station or tank or valve station or anything like that, looking at it on their phone, being able to be more efficient in their everyday lives.
Thank you.
So we've mentioned that we have a workforce shortage, and I see AI as that supplement. So a lot of times, cities like to look at things as doing more with less, and that's what they keep saying over and over and over again, and that is not possible. So I would encourage anyone who asks you about that, about AI, to say, are you able to get all of your job done in a day now? And if you're not, that's where AI becomes your best friend. Because most of us, I know I go home every day with work left on the table. And so then it's up to me to try to find time at night to finish it, or it gets kicked down the can. That's where AI tools can actually help us get our work done. Because I don't hear anyone shouting at the top of their hands, let's hire more FTEs. I don't hear that said ever. And so I would encourage you guys to work with staff. You are gonna have to find champions. So like with our blue collar staff, a lot of times we go and we look for people who have tech dreams, right? Who are using modern phones. That's usually how I look at it, right? If you're using a recent iPhone, then I want to talk to you as a blue collar operator, because you're going to want to do this, right? I hate to say we're going to leave some of our senior workforce behind, but if you're going to retire in 2 years, do you really want to go through learning how to use something new? Maybe they're not where we start, right? So search for those champions and talk to people and just say, this is to help you get more of your job done every day so that you're not leaving work on the table.
Christine.
I think I definitely, is this, okay, yeah, sorry. Definitely resonate with everything that's already been said, but I guess additional nuance or detail I think I would add to this conversation is I think it's really important to discuss digital technologies in a way that is relatable and understandable to the workforce. And everyone has a different conception of technology, and I think a lot of the fears that we have around it is due to what we see in the news, is due to what we see in the media. I mean, sci-fi has been out there for so long. I mean, like Terminator, I can't name more because I don't really watch that genre, but you know what I mean. There's a lot of fear about a machine takeover, it's gonna kill us or something like that. So how do we break that down? I think one thing that's really important is also just to kind of explain digital tools in simple ways. I was reflecting on this question, since it is a pre-prepared one, on, as humans, we're really capable of creative problem solving. That's what we're really good at, but we're also prone to mistakes. I mean, I'm not gonna ask for a raise of hands, but let's be honest. How many of us have pulled out our phones to do a basic arithmetic calculation? Okay, people are raising their hands, I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, I say it as a joke to my friends that sometimes I forget how to do 2 + 2, but it's also not exactly an exaggeration. But what these digital tools are really out there to do is to always be accurate where we will sometimes make mistakes. And I think sometimes if we frame whether it's AI or even more basic tools like GIS in those terms, it might help people kind of be a bit more open to it, because sometimes people hear AI, people hear digital, and instantly they're like, nope, I do not want to engage in this conversation. We need to get them to be open to it, so maybe just saying hey, how has your life changed just by transitioning from a flip phone to a smartphone? Maybe if we start off the conversation with that, people will actually start kind of be more massaged into thinking, okay, maybe there is something there that we can work on.
Thank you. Got another question, and I want to start off with Paula, since you're an officer in your organization. Do you find that cost savings is primarily the main driver utilities are looking at using AI technology? From your perspective, what do you think is the main driver for utilities?
I think one of the biggest drivers is the amount of data and the amount of staff we have to review the data, as well as things like CCTV, right? So you got a CCTV crew out looking through the camera, reviewing all of the footage. Are they seeing that that's a crack? Is the camera fuzzy? Did the pig somehow get a little smudge on it as you dropped it down the manhole? That's where AI can really come in handy. because AI is not a human, so it has no emotion, right? It also doesn't have things like allergies like I have, and so sometimes I have to blink a lot to like clear my eye, right? It doesn't have any of that. And so that's where I see AI providing some instant value, right? I can't imagine a CCTV operator saying, no, I want to stare at this footage for 8 hours a day. And if something could at least take a first pass at it where they're just verifying. I try to tell people, like, let's change our jobs from actually doing the work to QA/QCing the work. And that's where AI really provides the value, because AI is not ready yet to make full-scale decisions. If anyone is basing their whole work on AI without a human with expertise reviewing it, I'm warning you, that's dangerous, right? I think we all know that. So shifting to staff and saying, this can help you, but we still need a human with knowledge and expertise to review it, that's the way I see it being adapted right now in my utility.
Okay, thank you very much. From a utility perspective, can you add something to that, Jennifer?
Yeah. Definitely. So the question is about if cost savings is a primary driver. And definitely in my organization, business case evaluations, you'll hear that word a lot. What's the business case? What's the justification? So definitely that proof needs to be done, but that's where I would like to educate my peers into how can we do that better? How can we get the information to sell the thing that we want, the new technology, or if it's an AI solution. But I know that there also is, some of our leadership is presenting a logic of, when I see the commercial industry using AI, I'll use it. So in regard to CCTV, our engineering consultants are not, they're not using it as actively as we would expect. And so we're kind of waiting, when it's a for-profit company is using it and using it regularly, we'll probably give it more consideration. But at the same time, we're challenging ourselves to go ahead and give it a try where it makes sense, but we are looking for that. If it's going to make someone money, then it's probably part of a good solution. So it's not always the driver, but cost benefit is definitely part of the equation.
Okay, thank you so very much. And then I'd just like to get from the industry perspective, Mr. Foster, this is my mom and dad coming out. Mr. Foster, can you kind of give us your perspective from being a software provider?
Actually, it's probably one of the number one questions we get as a vendor going into a utility is how much money are you going to save me, or what the price is, and everything like that. So yeah, it's definitely, and I mean, actually, that's what we do. I mean, not going after the smaller utilities is trying to save them money by either being more efficient or giving them a product that's less than a typical SCADA system that it would be at a big utility or anything like that. So just giving them the power at a less expensive price is giving them, making their job easier on a daily basis too. So.
Okay, thank you. And last, Christine, because I know we're collaborating on our Water Research Foundation project, and what are you finding out in the research that you're doing and the work you're doing with utilities?
I gotta be honest, that is an Arcadis project. We're not exactly working with utilities on that, but sorry, I gotta be honest here, but so I'm not overstepping. But I think, yes, like cost savings are always gonna be a priority. Just, I mean, we gotta be realistic here. Like, utilities aren't the richest in the world. I think it's something that comes up in SWAN a lot, the fact that financial resources are tight. But I mean, as the theme of the panel is, like, staff, like workforces are tight as well. You know, there are just not as many bodies, not as many human hours that can go around. And I think that from some of the conversations I've had with utilities separate from that project as well, I mean, yeah, like trying to find ways to be optimal. And I think it's interesting, I mentioned this in my presentation and I'll repeat it, which is that there are a lot of challenges that utilities are facing, and there are a lot of new ones that keep emerging, and yet the amount of resources that they have available isn't increasing together with it. So really in line with what we're discussing all throughout today is like doing more with less, and that's why technologies, AI, and others I think is really getting more interest. I think in the past, maybe utilities were a bit more hesitant because they felt that there wasn't really a need, but now for various reasons, whether financial or workforce, it's driving that conversation a little bit more, and because when there's a need, people need to find solutions to it. I think it's hard to activate people to do something when, for the most part, the status quo still works. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a crisis for people to realize that, hey, we need to get better. And ironically, sometimes when something really bad happens, that's when the most change can happen. I don't wish that upon anyone, but I do think that that is the trend that we see sometimes.
Okay, thank you very much. We have for just a few more minutes, and I want to just propose, do we have anybody in the audience that wants to ask any questions of the panelists? Thank you guys, you've done a wonderful job.
We've got one question. So my question is more of a thought exercise. So the graph that you showed about the distribution of ages, and we hear about AI and interns and using AI as a supplement, training the next generation. I feel like there's this big gap on the retirement end where I think somebody had brought up metadata before. That institutional knowledge that's locked in with the group that's retiring, how are we capturing that? And how is that translating to this AI? So, are we're using AI, we're training the next generation, and then 5-10 years from now we find out, oh, we totally forgot about all of this stuff, that guy retired, we don't know where he went. So that incomplete knowledge, how are we gonna bridge that gap? Is there a digital or AI tool? Like, how do we capture that? Because all these digital solutions, are we making a lot of assumptions because we can't get that, that capture that institutional knowledge while we're developing these digital solutions, supplementing the workforce training. So it's a thought exercise. I mean, anybody, I'm wondering about that.
I have a little reality for that thought exercise. That exact example was why our engineering team initially reached out to AECOM. And part of what they asked AECOM to do was that analysis, because they were afraid that we got older engineers retiring, walking out of the door, knowing how to do things, knowing the templates, knowing our spec drawings, being able to spot little things that would be problematic before something turned out to invitation to bid. And so they were looking very hard to have AI be able to go through the stack of previous work and be able to answer questions to the newer generation of engineers. And that's a lofty goal. The data has to be in a place. It has to have some sort of details behind it, but it's doable. What I think we're finding out is that it's not a one AI tool for everything. So for example, our board letters. So if you guys work for a city, you might know staff reports or things that you present to your board for your agendas, the backup for that. We have things called memos. We'd have to have a memo for everything. And the memos follow a very same format. And I usually pick a memo that somebody else wrote and then just kind of fill it in with my new details. When I got to LA County SAN, we reached out to Grammarly. Grammarly has an AI tool built into its writing platform. So you can open a Word document that was previously created, and then you can tell it, replace this with this topic. Replace this amount with this dollar amount. And that has helped speed up the time that it takes for junior engineers to get board material finished. And it's more accurate because it's following a standard format. So I think there's almost a tiny bit of hope for that on the horizon.
Can I just add something? I don't know if it's probably breaking all the moderator rules. And it would be me. This is my first time as well. But one thing I'll just say that at our utility, we are implementing AI. And I can just share with you that in order to build that platform, you're using SOPs. So they're taking that in terms of historical data, machine learning, and all of those things. So we use it as a complement. So our seasoned staff are using it, be able to tell if it's reasonable, and we're using it also to help with to also train our new staff. So they really go hand in hand. They're not independent. Thank you guys for allowing me to jump in there.
Of course. course. You're part of our panel, too.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank our moderator and our panel with a big round of applause. Thank you so much.